Hey, welcome to show number 90 of The Last Angry DJ. I'm Mitch. I'm gonna push it up. There it is. That's the push we call in the business. I was late. I was looking for something. I didn't have my screen pinned correctly. But we're coming to you in live video today. Congratulations to us, our Thanksgiving special. And we have a special guest here who we'll introduce in just a second. But for now, I'd like to introduce my co-partner, the producer and the tech whiz, the boffin himself, Mr. Alexander Knight. Go ahead and smirk.
Good to be here, Mitch, for episode 90. We are now only 10 episodes away from episode 100 of The Last Angry DJ, and we appreciate all of you for being here. This is the show that intersects old media versus new media, where we interview luminaries in the world of broadcast, everyone from ex-DJs to salespeople, entrepreneurs, radio station owners. It's not just about terrestrial radio, though. It is really about content creation and podcast production, video production, pretty much everything. We cross all those borders. And this week, Mark is out. He will be returning next week, but we do have a special guest, and I'm going to hand it back to Mitch in a second. But I just want to encourage everyone, if you have questions for us to discuss on the show, whether it's about our guest or general show topics, we would recommend that you go to ask.thelastangrydj.com. That's ask.thelastangrydj.com. Put in your questions, vote on them, and chat with us during the show. Back to you, Mitch.
Yeah, it's okay to get on that event chat and make comments, because we'll put those in too. But we prefer you to ask your questions via Mukana in the way that Alex just mentioned. And by the way, Alex, in your intro, you used the term ex-DJ. And I think our next guest would agree that there is no such thing as an ex-DJ or radio person. If you've ever done radio, it's in your blood for the rest of your life, just like herpes simplex. It'll be there forever. What a great way to introduce our next guest, Mr. Steve Streiker, returning champion and regular guest here on our program. He's also our I guess, you de facto legal advisor for what happens on the show. But also,
general
Steve,
counsel of the last.
Is that what are we allowed to say without getting you into trouble?
No, I'm your legal counsel of the Last Angry DJ. I have been since the beginning.
Do lawyers prefer lawyer, attorney, or councilman?
You know, it all depends on the context of that word. Yeah.
And do you have the little ESQ, CPM, whatever?
I sign my emails with the ESQ. Sure.
Yeah, and you have other things on there too. So what do they all mean after your name?
I'm a CIPP, a Certified Information Privacy Professional. I took a very difficult test to earn that. Okay, I'm also a certified radio marketing consultant, a CRMC, issued by the Radio Advertising Bureau.
The RAB.
I have my CRMC is number 1213.
We're glad you have all those, and I just wanted to say that we almost lost Steve there because the Chiefs went into overtime, and Steve was very torn as to whether he was going to stay on this show or watch the what was it, going on overtime or something like that.
They won 23-20 in overtime. They had the game solidly lost until the last 5 minutes. But they tied it up, and they went ahead, and I got to give it to them. But because if they had lost, the season was completely over. And now they do have a chance to make the wild card at this point. So.
Alex, are you that tied up with sports in Canada? What is it? It's not really football. It would be ice hockey, right?
Hockey is the main sport that people watch here by far, but I'm not a sports guy myself.
Canadian football,
never have been.
I
don't
watch
a Canadian football league.
There is. It's good.
Definitely.
Hey, I got other letters too.
The Canucks? That's who you follow?
You think that's how you say the team?
How do you
say it?
It's the Canucks. The Canucks. But anyways, you're just being weird, but okay.
I am totally honest with you. That's exactly the way I thought that you pronounced it. So feel free to jump in anytime I screw up something.
Well, it's also the Montreal Canadiens, not the Canadians.
Canadiens. I got it.
Canadiens.
Got it. We just want to make sure we get it right.
However,
Alex is...
they haven't won the Stanley Cup, and no Canada team has won it for 25 years, I think.
Doesn't the Stanley Cup originate in Canada? It's not really a U.S. invention, right?
Well, Lord Stanley was a Canadian.
Right, that's what I'm saying. We literally took their cup from them.
Well, there's Canadian teams in the NHL.
Right.
Winnipeg, Montreal, Toronto.
One of the greatest movies of all time with, what's his name? Paul Newman.
Paul Newman? Slapshot?
Slapshots. What a great movie. That was so unbelievable. Alex, do you know which movie we're talking about? If you haven't seen it.
Sorry.
This is a great. This is right there with.
I've seen other sports movies, but I haven't seen them all.
Slapshot with
Paul
Newman is unbelievable. Even if you like hockey, it's a tongue-in-cheek parody. But what is it? The brothers that they end up sending out there. There's the young guys.
They were triplets. I think they were actual hockey players too.
They were. They went on tour after the movie was out. So it's called Slapshots. It's our next big movie.
I'll add it to my list.
Jeff Carlson and I don't know who the last one was, but
it's actually that's a good story. And I heard that Newman actually put it on his list of favorite movies, even above what we have here is a failure. Communicate.
1977.
That's when it was done. Slapshot.
Yeah, it was kind of at the end of, I don't want to say the end of Paul Newman's career, but as a major, leading man, and probably was one of his last.
Anyhow, hilarious movie. You got to see it. It's like the Caddyshack of hockey. You got to check it out.
It's a comedy, but there's a lot of blood in it.
Yes, there is. A lot of missing teeth, and just like the regular the leagues. What are you going to do? Exactly. You call hockey league? Is that a league? Do they have an organization?
Whatever. The National Hockey League, NHL.
Yeah, I got it.
Right.
Okay. Anyhow, let's get into why we're here. We're here for to talk about things in media and broadcast. And today we're going to kick off our long list of subjects to talk about, particularly since Steve is here to lend his expert advice and such. Is one of the headliners is the FCC is put out a list of potential C-band spectrum auction. It's the upper band. It's up there in the gigahertz. What 22 gigahertz area, and the Congress sees an opportunity to auction it off to the telecom industry and make another shit ton of money. Now they did it once before, so the C-band is being hacked up. And
it's 4 to 8. It's 4 to 8 gigahertz is what it is.
Okay, I think it's actually a bit lower than that. If you look at
I'm reading it right off the Wikipedia.
Okay, then maybe we got it wrong. But anyhow, what they do is they put a proposal ruling, and then they ask for people's opinions, and then
you're right. It's 3.7 is the bottom. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. I'm just saying I'm as good as Alex is, and Alex put that in there, and I trust his technical know-how. Mr. Levi here. So anyhow, my concern about it is that C-band is used to distribute radio and television programming, particularly in the old days, before the KU band and then eventually IP. And there's still a lot of C-band being used in broadcast because most stations are too cheap to change their receiving equipment to KU band or other high-powered devices from satellites flying overhead in synchronous and geosynchronous orbits, et cetera, et cetera. But there was a time when that was how stuff got distributed around the world, actually, because we would send it up. Do you guys, as a trivia question, do you guys know who invented the idea of satellite distribution of programming? Anybody?
Walt Disney
invented it. Arthur C. Clarke. Arthur Clarke did.
Yeah, he was one of the first to write about it. But there's other writers. Willie Lay was another writer that described that geosynchronous. Yeah, but you're right. The first popular author to talk about it in the 1940s was Arthur.
Exactly. He's an older guy, Mr. 2001. There you go. So anyhow, I just dislike that. I mean, it's me sort of ranting a little bit, but the significance of it is that the government's slowly but surely taking back everything that they gave our friends in radio and in TV. And if you're a farmer out in the middle of nowhere with one of those big satellite dishes, I mean, I forget in meters, it's like 3 meters, something like that in size. It's a pretty big size dish. It's like one you have put on the ground, put on your house. It's yay big. It's huge. It's huge. It's really large. Thank you for doing that, so I could use my hands. That's actually what a KU band is about here. C band is way more than my arms can reach out. So,
well, I can tell you a story about the KU band. Okay.
All right, go ahead. Shoot.
So I used to live in Kansas City, and one of our local universities was the University of Kansas. But University of Kansas is not known as UK like the University of Kentucky is. It's referred to as KU, and they have a band. And so every single satellite truck, like you'd be on I-70 or anywhere in the U.S. driving behind CBS production van for NFL football or whatever, and there would always be a bumper sticker from the University of Kansas band, KU band, on the back of every single production unit.
As a gag. It's
As
a joke,
gag,
right?
Exactly. You're right.
Oh, very nice. Thank you.
With the Jayhawk, if you're a Kansas fan, you'll know what a Jayhawk is. It's their
excellent. I also tell Aggie jokes. If you're from Texas, you're not a Longhorn. That's for Paul Wallace. Just for Paul.
Well, no, the Aggies are the Texas A&M. Don't confuse
That's right.
the
Aggies
guys. and University of Texas. Hook 'em horns, baby.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's a difference between the two.
This is not obscene in Texas. Hook 'em horns,
Exactly. Yeah. So anyhow, the FCC is monkeying with the chances they're going to take it away. I think that the FCC is going to auction off everything to the telecoms. It's a very powerful lobby. And when I say telecom, I mean, well, Steve, tell them what the telecom industry comprises. It's
broadcasters are part of the telecom industry, and the reality is all of these things were allocated for the public use. And the reality is, with terrestrial IP communication, there isn't the need for all of that spectrum to be dedicated to remote broadcasting use. And also the satellites that have the transponders for C-band, they all have a limited life, and they're all going to come to an end eventually. So can we solve the problems we need in other satellite transponder bands? Probably. I have the NAB site up, and obviously they have a proceeding, and they're going to weigh in because they don't want to have. Their members don't want to have to buy new equipment to be on a different band. But the reality is, the spectrum really should go to the highest and best use. And the military is getting heat about this too, because the U.S. military has wide swaths of very desirable spectrum allocated, back from the Cold War for like over-the-horizon radar and stuff that is no longer needed. And, it's just a natural thing. Eventually we reallocate spectrum.
Is that those big things we'd see in Alaska sitting on the horizon, those big horns?
Yeah, I mean, they have all sorts of, the military has spectrum everywhere on the spectrum map, from low frequency. They have VLF, which they talk to submarines on, all the way up to
very low frequencies.
Like in the 60, like in the 60 kilohertz, below 60 kilohertz. But
you think your boombox is good, Steve?
Yeah.
Those submarines have got.
Well, that's how they still maintain that network. They have antennas up in Maine, and I'm not sure where on the West Coast, but I think maybe in Monterey, California, they have these gigantic VLF antenna arrays to talk to the submarines.
New London, Connecticut.
Is it? It might be. You're right. You might be right. It might be on the base of
Groton, New London, that area. Because that's where they build a lot of the big ships.
I actually think it's up in Maine, though, on the coast.
Maybe so.
But I could be wrong. I haven't kept up with it. So
yeah, there you go. So anyhow, FCC monkeying with it. Sounds like Steve is up for, if there's a higher paying use for that particular area of the bandwidth, give it away. Let them.
I mean, let's face it. Originally, cable was built on Ted Turner realizing that he could put his channel 17 up on the bird out of Atlanta, and then that's how CNN got developed, because they already had the uplink capability, on Techwood Drive in Atlanta. And that's how they put the Turner Classic movies. They did all those stations that he developed in the late 70s. And then in 1980, they put CNN on the air. And then,
you know how that started? You know how he started up on the Bird and distributing it?
Well,
they used to do the news from the Superstation.
Right.
And was it Tuckman? What was the guy's name? Oh, gosh, I can't remember it. He used to be one of the newscasters. They used to make a big gag of it. They would they'd talk about a plane crash, and they'd be throwing paper airplanes onto the set with sound effects and just.
Well, it was an independent station that ran old movies.
Yeah, people watched it. And
Georgia
that's
State
the other
Wrestling.
thing.
Yeah.
A lot of the movies that they ran up off the Bird, at that time they didn't have the regulations that they couldn't distribute. Like you paid one, licensing fee for, like, say, the A-Team or whatever. You could put it up on the satellite, and you'd have to pay additional fees to distribute it beyond that. You already were paying your one.
Well, that's because the contracts had not envisioned that kind of nationwide distribution. Look, that points out something interesting, is that was the beginning of the end, even though it's not over yet, of local network affiliates. Let's face it. Do we really... In this world, are local network affiliates going to survive the next 10 years? Maybe not. All they were was a terrestrial distribution modality for networks.
Well, let's face it, that's an issue with radio today, is that your local radio station should be covering local issues, and sometimes they're not, because they're part of a big major operation like an iHeart that's just syndicating programming.
I haven't heard a newscast on a local radio station. The only Mike station that he's on the air in the morning, our friend Mike Rossi, he's on WJXI. Is that it?
The Vault.
JKI. I'm sorry, WJKI, the Vault down in Rehoboth Beach, Bethany Beach, down in lower Delaware, northern Maryland.
I think he's pushing 100 watts. Something
no,
like
that. That's a full power FM. That's a full power FM. They run Fox Network News. They're in the morning on his morning show. But man, they don't have any local news down there. I mean, Mike does talk about local things on the morning show.
He's also on a translator. So
we grew up listening to Wham's radio with Matt Lukovich and who else was on?
There would have been Paul A. Bottoms and Bruce Smallwood.
Eric Smallwood.
These were he got the Eric when he came up to WPEN.
But also, who else? I'm missing somebody else. He's
Al Campagnon.
No. Yeah,
Al was there. I'm just saying, other people.
No, but I'm missing my friend who I'm trying to remember. He works at He's still He works at Longwood Gardens.
Does he play the organ there?
No, he's a tour guide there.
Oh, okay, cool.
He did it. Who was the afternoon newsman in the afternoon?
When? That's the question, because Paul Bottoms did afternoons
like
with
75. Me. Yeah.
75. Well, let's see. Al Campagnon, John Degnes, who came down from Erie, Pennsylvania. I'm sorry, I don't know who you were thinking of.
Okay.
And John Wallace in the chat is saying very few local shows, mostly empty buildings with automation running what's on the air. Wow, that sounds really
true.
sad. That's
I visited. I told you about my visit 5 years ago. I was doing depositions in Birmingham, and Ray Quinn was running at the time the iHeart Radio cluster. And I went to have lunch with them, and I walked into this beautiful facility. There was nobody at the reception desk, and there was like 10 people in the whole facility. A couple salespeople getting ready to go out on sales calls, and the studios were all empty because everything was voice tracked. There was only one studio that had any live. There was a country station, and they had the midday team on the air for some reason. I don't know why. That was it.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, locally, the iHeart affiliate that's here in northern Delaware, I went in just after a big snowstorm. A friend of mine, Mike Summers, who's now passed on, they had him in there doing the morning show for just a gag or a couple of weeks. And I went there, it's like one person. And they were still running forecasts from the previous week before the storm. So it was like nobody there in this beautiful facility. And I think most of the local stuff was coming out from downstate, one of their affiliates down there. So it's pretty strange. Yeah, it's a sad thing. But satellite used to also be the main way that they used to distribute programming through Westwood One, I think, out of L.A. They had programs. Howard Stern famously was distributed originally via satellite to the 5 or 6 owned and operated affiliates, and then went on to 60 some radio stations that he was on. That was the way you did it. You did it with a C-band. I don't think they're putting more C-band satellites up there. It used to be like RCA had their space segments, satellites. AT&T put them up there. Somebody Americom, this is RCA Americom, something like that. Anyhow, it's old stuff.
Well, again, that's old.
Maybe you're right.
That's old technology, frankly, because a lot of stuff is going to start moving to Starlink for even video distribution. Yeah.
Is Starlink encoded or encrypted, or is it just going out there for all to hear and see?
As we mentioned, that we were talking about that earlier. There's stuff that people are discovering in the Starlink downlink feeds that is not encrypted, including personal telephone calls, which is
cool.
I believe under FCC rules supposed to be encrypted. So they've gotten some heat about that.
That's neat.
Jim Stoddard, by the way, who's who I was thinking of. Jim Stoddard.
Oh yeah, Jim was there. Yeah, Jimbo. I went to school with Jim.
Yeah,
Jimbo, Jim Stoddard, Mr. Excitement. Yes, I'm Jim.
He's
Stoddard.
Still kicking. He's a great guy. Really.
Yeah, he's alive. Yeah, it's nice to know he's still there.
But I'll give you an example. My dad used to be. He ran the Mental Health Association of Delaware, and my dad was always involved in controversies. And he'd be in actuality once every week or two on WHAMS or WDEL radio, and they covered mental health issues. They covered other breaking news, and forget about it. The radio doesn't cover any breaking news. I haven't heard in the Tampa market when I do go over to listen to local radio. I don't hear any there except for on the news station. WFLA. The all.
What they used to do at WHAMS and other radio stations is they used to have a news actuality, and they would play all these sound bites from the actualities. What they would do is they'd go into the other room and call the phone number for the newsroom and reporting live from, the railroad Amtrak station where the Amtrak or derailment, the guy is calling from the room next door in the same building. And
don't
apparently
give up
because
all the secrets.
Because it's secrets like today. And because it was over the local phone system that sounded like, oh, that's really happening because it came over the phone. Right. We'd call in fake, they're fake. They were reconstructed news stories because we were an ABC affiliate. We'd get like $50 every time we'd call one of those things in. I call, yes, the alien aircraft is landing now in front of the Washington Monument.
You got your Stringer fees.
Yeah, exactly. So, they'd give us $50.
Well, they used to carry the national news on the ABC Contemporary Network.
Contemporary Network. That was also where
55 past the hour on the phone line.
Paul Harvey, Howard Cosell, speaking of sports.
Speaking of sports, Howard Cosell.
Speaking of sports. And the other fun thing about the satellite was that it wasn't encoded or encrypted, and it was always a blast to listen in before the broadcast with Howard Cosell, where he'd be going off at an engineer or the chair was uncomfortable or somebody was doing something that annoyed him. He'd be dropping F-bombs and we used to laugh. It was so funny. And speaking of C-band, I had a friend who had a C-band at his house down at the beach, and that was Bernie Shaw from CNN. When they'd go to commercials, they kept the feed coming from the studio at CNN, and Bernie had quite a foul mouth, and it was just funny to watch these guys going off on something. Ted Turner is such an asshole, or they'd say something about him. He was drunk again when they won America's Cup.
Well, NBC finally had to encrypt because for several years. They kept doing even after the Tonight Show moved out to the West Coast, they continued to do the post-production in New York. And what they did is they just opened up a transponder on C-band out of Burbank, and they just live streamed the whole show that they did in time. And it was on at 5:30. That's what time they recorded it, which was 8:30 in New York. And then they recorded it on videotape, and then they would edit out expletives or stuff that they needed to do for time, and then they broadcasted at 11 o'clock Eastern.
Well, before videotape, they used kinescopes.
Yeah, but they left the mics and everything open during the commercial breaks, and people were listening to the cues and the discussion, the was going on, and Johnny Carson getting mad at production people and everything. So finally, NBC encrypted the feed of the Tonight Show, and that really was met by some unhappiness by the hobbyists, because at that point there were like 1 million people that had those satellite dishes all across rural America.
Yeah, I bet there's hundreds now, maybe 1,000.
I don't think there's any, because I think everything's encrypted that goes up on the bird. So
yeah, there you go. And they're not replacing them, as you said. They eventually run out of fuel, or the transponder burns up. Because what they would do when you would buy time-space segments, you'd buy a specific transponder for how many $1,000s per month, and eventually that transponder would degrade in quality, and it didn't just shut off; it would degrade. It was all analog stuff. So that was interesting. But I don't think there's that many active satellites up there, and they probably deorbit them once they've lived.
Well, there's still, that's still a business, and there's still bandwidth available, and you can book it, and it's still up there.
But it's not just bandwidth; it's also the literal space in geosynchronous orbit, because they have to keep them separated.
Yeah,
by so many degrees of arc.
You have to get permission from. There's an international body that it's an organization of the United Nations. I don't remember the ITT, the International Telephone and Telegraph, and then the FCC has to authorize you to have that slot, and yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's that much space left. I think they've got every tiny little.
Yeah, but they're not as important anymore, because there's fiber optic networks. We don't need those.
I agree. I'm just saying it's an anachronism of the past.
Right,
so,
exactly.
So maybe the FCC's onto something. Let's get rid of it before we have to deal with it. All right, let's move on to another interesting subject. I'm in the production business. I do a lot of audio and video production, and since digital came along, the issue has always been what is considered to be a reference level. We'll call it what we used to call 0 level or +4 in the analog world. And here's the problem. Once you get to digital, you can't put 0 dB digital signal, because that's literally at the point where the signal no longer can be manipulated by a digital signal. So when you hit 0 in the digital world, anything beyond that is clipped or gone. It's his history. So I'm gonna refer to my friend Alex here, who's our technical whiz. I guess it's been accepted not as a professional, but sort of an accepted level of -20 as the reference point that you go to. So in other words, if you're watching a meter bouncing back and forth in the old days on a VU meter, 0 would be the highest you would go, and now it's -20. Alex, is that the way you see the production world? Not the final level, but the production level.
Yeah, so normally when you're gain staging, for example, like I'll just give you an example here, because it really depends on who the engineer is. So that -20 dBFS, that's decibels full scale in the digital realm, whether, normally when you're working with a digital audio workstation, you're recording audio, or whether you're working with a digital console, we're all working in the digital world in most cases now. So we have to watch, like you said, Mitch, there's really nothing above 0 dBFS in your computer. You're just going to have horrible audio, and you're right, you cannot recover that. So you need to make sure you allow yourself headroom. Now, there are different standards, and people calibrate their systems differently. So it really depends on how much headroom you want to allow for. Now, a lot of people do use -20 as a general rule for peaks
production,
going no more above that. So for example, in the live sound world, I might, when I'm doing my line checks, I may ensure that all my levels, when I pre-fade or solo all my inputs, that I'm not going above -20 dBFS, right? Now, some people, there are exceptions to this rule, and I will say this because certain engineers, when they're mixing on higher end digital consoles, when you have really high-end mic preamps on a Digico, for example, a SD5 or an SD7, although they are pretty transparent mic preamps, there's a certain timbre that's introduced when you're pushing the mic preamp a little bit hotter, even on these consoles. So some people like to push the input stage to get that sound the way they want it to. So they will go above, they may go above above -20, But then what they'll do is using the digital trim to get the fader resolution right, they will bring the digital trim down. So they're just using their ears really to get the tone that they want. But yes, you're right. A lot of people work to certain standards like -20. On some consoles is -18. Also, the console manufacturers have their own recommendations. If you actually pull out the manual, oftentimes the manufacturer will have this recommendation of, oh, well, you should aim for -18 or you should aim for -20, or maybe some people, go for -12. So it really depends on who the engineer is.
Well, there's also something called digital foot room too, because there's limits to human hearing on low levels. And then you do run into encryption problems in digital when you have
it becomes noisy.
It becomes noisy, right? But there are schemes built into the encoding standards that deal with that. I mean, the oldest one is B80 substitution, where in the phone network on digital circuits, there really is no 0000. The absence of a signal is represented by, you take the 0 and you make it a digital 8, so that when there's no signal present, you're still having a peak sent to represent digital 8 in that word, that 8-bit word, so that you do not have like nothing but zeros, because even though it's digital, it's going across analog networks, and the level for 0 and 1 have to be discernible by the end equipment. And if you send nothing but zeros, it's hard for the equipment to know whether that was a 0 or a 1. So yeah, that's
and I'm glad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up. So you brought up something that's really interesting. And we're talking about codecs. When you're converting one signal from, for example, like a lossless audio source to a lossy one, we do have to make sure that we allow for enough headroom. So one of the prime examples that we run into oftentimes is the final distribution point for audio are using these compressed codecs, be it MP3, be it AAC, for example, and there is actually a loss in that conversion process. So for example, like with this show, with The Last Angry DJ, when I put this out as a podcast, obviously I'm working with uncompressed audio and wave formats, but when I have to put a limiter on the final output, and I have to allow for enough headroom. Now, normally the absolute true peak ceiling, again, we're talking in the digital realm, I will set that true peak ceiling to something like -2.1 or -2.2 dBFS, because by the time that ends up getting encoded to an AAC compressed file or a compressed MP3, you've actually lost headroom. And you can prove this because if you open up that MP3 compressed file after you've converted it and run it through a loudness meter and analyze it, you can actually see the loss of headroom. Had I mastered my audio, like if I just slammed that into a brick wall limiter all the way up to say -0.1, by the time that went to MP3, you would actually have into what's called intersampled peaks above 0. So you actually may be hearing audible distortion in that final distribution file that you're sending out to the world. So as engineers, we have to be very, very careful, not just in streaming audio, but in, even for on-demand stuff, that final distribution system, we have to be very, very careful. And even in the radio world, Steve talked about this too, the transmission end of things, we have to be very careful with our compression and when our limiting, that we're allowing for enough headroom, because there's so many stages down the line that could be impacted by audio, by bad audio.
What you just said, stages down the line. So as a producer of content, whether it's audio or video that I'm doing, if I'm sending it down the line to Comcast or some other distribution system, or it's going to be part of another show, as a courtesy, if you do it -20, then you're giving that engineer the ability to push it up or push it down. If you go up to, again, the closer you get to 0, the less option they have to be able to adjust the levels. And the other thing is, Steve mentioned 8-bit. Very little professional audio is done at 8-bit anymore, maybe for phones, for encoding and keeping the bandwidth down. But nowadays, it's 32 bits is the, and it just means the amount of information that you can put out there. Let me finish the point. 32 bits gives you a lot of headroom to be able to work with. So you'll see a sound device is set for 32 bits. It means that chances are you can slam that preamp a little extra hard and it's not going to overload. Go ahead, Steve.
You never use the top 10 dB of a 32-bit encoder, unless some peak sneaks through there that's like way out of it. Yeah.
You got way more headroom. That's essentially what that means. And you don't always, like with analog, you're always trying to keep it up there above that hiss on tape. So that's why you were always like punching around 0 on the VU meter. In the analog world, technically the reference level is 0 dB, which is plus 4 dBm. So that 0 equals 0.4 or plus 4. And it's like you had a little extra room as you could slam those meters even a little bit further and you wouldn't saturate the tape or the medium
People
that you
are
were
going
using.
to sleep right now here in this context.
Oh, sorry. I'm just trying to impress everybody with my knowledge of analog, which
if you
is
want
totally relevant.
Consulting, Alex and Mitch are available for discussion of
Thanks, Steve. Steve knows it all. He has it. Anyhow, it's important to remember that if you're producing something that's going to be used down the line, minus 20 is the standard. Just keep it around there. You don't have to nail it exactly right there. But remember, 0, if you're pushing the levels to keep them all the way up there for digital, you're going to have clipping and dropout and problems like that.
One of the most annoying, and we'll try not to put our audience to sleep, but one of the most annoying and frustrating things as a mix engineer is when a band sends you a project and they've absolutely obliterated the mix, and which is brick wall limited everything with up to like negative 0.1 dB. It's like, what am I supposed to do with that?
Well,
or as a mastering engineer,
Alex,
what am I supposed to do with that?
Rock and roll music owes its life to distortion. When they discovered in the early 1960s that guitar sounded really cool when you drove the guitar preamp into distortion. However, you can't do that with audio. You have to do it with
you emulate
software to make that sound in digital, because you cannot drive digital equipment into distortion intentionally.
What you're talking about, Steve, is the beautiful warmth that the human ears love of even order harmonics. And that is just a byproduct of the analog circuitry. And you're absolutely right. It's funny because we've kind of come full circle. We transitioned from analog to digital and went so clean with digital that people, sat there in their mixes and go, there's something missing with this mix. And so we start... It doesn't, there's just something missing from it. And then we started developing tools that added back that distortion that we got in
all of those are available in Pro Tools or all the other audio editing suites, right? But here's what's weird about it. They only kind of do one flavor of it, whereas you can buy different guitar amps that some have tubes, some are solid state. They all have a different, when they're driven into distortion, they all sound different. Yeah.
What's interesting is that if you look at a lot of the audio processing devices, the ones that people seek because they like them so much, I've got a U87 mic behind me, and I bought the best audio processor I could get for that. It's an analog audio processor. It's analog, digitally controlled. It's a Neve 8801. And it just so happens that analog still is the best way to manipulate, as a preamp or other device, audio like you guys are talking. And analog doesn't distort the same way digital does. It's much more forgiving. And it's a wanted sound.
Absolutely. And I wanted to bring in the chat, too, because we have John Wallace commenting here, who I know who does mix audio often. He was saying harmonics are the sweetness, the sound fundamentals need support. It's really interesting in the live sound world too, that now even with as good as digital consoles have gotten, a lot of front of house engineers that I know now are incorporating high-end analog circuitry, a few key pieces of outboard gear just to give them that extra something. Like, can they do the show with just in the box processing on these consoles? Of course they can. But it's that extra mile, that last mile that gives you that little extra something. I mean, I know guys that are basically taking groups, they're taking stems from their console, bussing them out to a bunch of Rupert Neve outboard processors to add harmonic distortion, add all this stuff because it gives it weight. And the interesting thing about harmonic distortion, perceptually, without really making things that much louder, it adds a bit of weight. You can really raise the RMS levels up, but without really making it overtly loud. It just gives it a little more impact, which is really, really interesting.
John's mentioning an SSL Fusion. They just came out with that console just now. It's an analog, fantastic, digitally controlled console. It has a lot of the original SSL sound to them. Their preamps, their final compressor that they have, they sell them either as plug-ins.
The Fusion is an outboard processor. It's not a console.
You know, in the old days,
no, there's a new SSL board.
There is, but it's not.
They used to set up speakers in the next room over with another microphone, and then pick up the speaker on the microphone. And I wonder if Abbey Road Studio still has the gigantic reverb plates that were in like these.
They do.
vaults.
Yes, yeah. They do. They do indeed. I'm trying to see what the new one is. New SSL console. They just have it for sale. I don't know what the name of it, but they just came out with a new analog board. That's what I'm trying to say. So sorry if I misrepresented.
Well, it would be nice, if we've talked about Rick Beato before, but his big criticism of current pop music is it's all the drums are all on the beat, all the instruments are in tune, they're right on and because of all digital manipulation, and that that's one of the reasons that current pop music all sounds the same. I don't know if you've heard the supercut of a bunch of other pop records with the Fate of Ophelia, which is currently the #1 hot, stream song in the world. And there's like 8 other songs that have the same exact rhythm period, and and they're right on the beat and there was something to be said for a Hammond organ in a third-rate studio. Some of those hit records were, a saxophone, a upright piano, a Hammond organ, and 2 guitars and an electric bass, and an EV, 635 microphone, and some killer records were on that kind of analog infrastructure, right?
Yeah, I was just the console I'm referring to is, I was just writing a note there to John. It's the Oracle. That's the new analog console from SSL. Mm-hmm. So they're accepting the fact that people like the analog sound. That's why people have vinyl records out there, because the turntable is essentially a vinyl, an analog device.
You probably can buy a filter for Pro Tools that puts the pops and clicks back into it.
Yeah, that's interesting you bring that up, Steve, because in the video world, a lot of the plugins you buy for your editing system or compositing systems like After Effects, they're adding things that we hated, like lens flares and tape tear and video distortion. They're adding those. They're
by the way, they have to, and I'll tell you a show that I watched that really looked super flat because they didn't have any of that. It's called Death by Lightning. It's about President McKinley, his assassination.
Yes.
It's a 4-part, excellent. And it was all shot in Budapest, but like a lot of the scenery was CGI. And if they had shot that in real, there would be lens flares when they moved the cameras. And they didn't have any of that, and it makes the CGI look really fake.
I was just watching a CGI show where the lens flares were added in. Thank you for putting the Oracle up there. That's a great console, by the way. Very expensive. But anyhow, I was watching the show. It does exactly what you're talking about, Steve. But the problem was the lens flares that I saw, I knew exactly which flare pack they were using. They were using the Knoll flare pack, one of the best out there for plugins. By the way, he who dies with the most plugins for your editing system or your After Effects dies.
There's also, you can make it look like it's shot on certain Kodak stock or certain Pan-X stock or on Fuji stock, and whether you pushed it 3 times in there's all sorts of things they used to do in post-production that made a special look to film production, and without it, movies, on 100% 4K or 8K videos, sometimes without adding these things back in, they don't look right.
Yeah, one of the best for that is now owned by, who the heck owns them? It used to be Red Eye. It's called Magic Bullet. And you literally could go out there and pick the film stock and how you pushed it and how it was processed. You were pushing it turns blue, and it's got the grain in it and all. Yeah. Things that we take cues on. When you watch an old cut of Wizard of Oz, which I did the other day, I'm looking at all the grain, like when they're doing things. Or if you look at an old Star Trek episode from the original series, when they do a push in, it's like it's obvious that they didn't do this push when they were shooting it, but they were pushing the film. It's like all of a sudden the grain goes whomp, it goes totally up. So it's an interesting look. So it's a thing that gets added one way or the other, and it's an artifact. But again, my point was, and my rant was, that they're taking things that we used to hate, that we used to go out of our way to get rid of, like distortion and grain, things like that, and they're making them a plug-in that you now can add those things back into to make your thing look realistic. Like you want to emulate an old VHS tape, where the tape tears.
I'm going to add film grain. Mitch, I'm going to add, I just found in Mimola, I have to install it, so I'll do that for next week. We can add film grain to the show as a filter.
You have a countdown clock rolling.
Well, Star Trek,
we can add film grain.
People are so geeky. Like the first season was shot on Eastman color negative 50T 5251. But the seasons after that were shot on 52-54, and they look different. It's a creative choice in those days.
Not to get crazy, going a rabbit hole of Star Trek, but Jerry Finneran, I think, was the DP or the lighting director. They did more very cool effects with lighting that was not being done on TV at the time. Like if you look at all the dramatic scenes where Kirk is, doing one of his little thought themes or going on his rants, they would have like light highlighting his eyes, and the rest of them would be sort of slightly
they put
darker.
A key light right on his eyes.
They did a lot of very interesting lighting effects that were so cutting edge at the time. It could have gone the other way. I think the guy was like a total newbie.
The beginning of color TV, general adoption, that's when the Brady Bunch came out, and the entire house was like color threw up on it. Like the kitchen was all reds and yellows, and
the Munsters
clothing was all hot pink, and
the Munsters. It was done in black and white, but the actual set was pink. Various shades of pink to be able to make it look saturated or
get the correct contrast, onto monochrome film. Yeah.
So it's interesting. We could go down that rabbit hole and talk all day about what they did in that transitionary time. And in another way, it's the same thing now going to digital, is that we lost a lot of that, effect. And now we're adding it back in to try to make it look analog when it's digital. So, it's what's the point of all this craziness? It's pretty wild. So next thing we want to talk about is something that we're all familiar with, and that's spam. In all its various forms, but my favorite is spam callers. Here's my presidential promise. If I ever run for president, I will make all spammers pay for your phone service. I think that's the way it should be. So if they're going to call you unsolicited and make you listen to their pitch, whatever the heck they're selling, boner cream or timeshare elimination, I think they should pay for the phone service. I don't know how Steve feels about that.
Well, that's unfortunately one of the reasons telemarketing and that kind of things that you can do that is that it used to be that people didn't do it because it cost money. You had to pay usually a wholesale buyer of a call center would have to pay in between 2 and 3 cents a minute to call people. And so they didn't call everybody unless they, needed to. But now it's free, and you can call from India for free,
But a lot of the way it works is that if your phone says that there's a spammer calling and you decide because for entertainment purposes or whatever, maybe you're curious.
4 times a day at least.
When you answer the phone and there's dead air there, and then you hear this click, it might go doot or something like that, or make a tone. What it means is that the telemarketer or spammer is making like 10 phone calls at once.
Yeah, of
and
course.
The first one to answer out of the hold on. The first one to answer out of the 10 is the one that you're going.
It's called a predictive dialer. Yeah.
Yeah. Steve knows what he's talking about. So I just thought I'd bring it up because I get them all the time. I think that some of them are pretty funny. I'd like to record them and make an album. And I think some guys, what were the Jerky Boys, did a whole album of spam
they're pretty
callers.
much onto it now. Those people, they hang up on it.
But I have a couple of suggestions about how to deal with spammers when they call. First of all, your phone can block them a lot easier than they used to.
It's called
but if for some reason, what's it now?
It's called Stir Shaken. That's the technology the FCC mandated to be adopted by all the mobile phone carriers in the United States. And that's why when you see the call, it says suspected spam or whatever, it's potential spam. That's coming from Stir Shaken because they're not properly registered as a valid telephone number.
Well, let's say they catch you by surprise and it's a spam caller.
Yeah.
Here's a technique you can use every time, and it works. I'm telling you. When you answer the phone rings, and you answer it, go, "Hi, you're on the air."
They hang up.
They hang up instantly.
I usually
no discussion.
Say, "You're on a recorded line."
All right. Well, they think. You ever get the call when they say we're calling for so and so, and by the way, we're recording this for your protection and for training purposes. For my protection for what? What's going to happen on this phone conversation that I have to be protected? Steve, you're the attorney. Tell me, why are they putting a disclaimer like that in there?
Well, putting what disclaimer?
The disclaimer that they're recording this conversation for your protection.
Because we have state-specific laws about whether you can record a phone conversation. We have some states are single-party consent. That means I could call you, and from a single-party consent, I can record the call. I don't have to tell you I'm recording it because I gave my consent by recording it. But in other states, it's a felony if you record a call that the other party wasn't informed of.
It's also illegal, according to the FCC, to radio jocks used to make calls to McDonald's.
Yeah, you got to tell people that they're on the air.
You have to have their permission to do it. You can't just put somebody on the air without getting their solicitation. So we would take calls all the time, but you have to ask them. So that causes.
Well, it's automated now. You notice when you call a lot of call centers, when you need help from your credit card, the recording will say your call is being recorded and monitored for quality assurance, and that's so they can be in compliance with the law. Yeah.
And when I get a caller that gets through for whatever it is, it might be the bank calling about my credit card being overdrawn or something. They always say this conversation is being recorded for your protection and for training. And I'd say, okay, hold on, I'm going to record this too. I make Hey, guess what? They say, oh, you can't do that. I say, wait a minute, let me get this straight. You can record me, but you're saying I can't record you?
They have the option to opt out just like you do. They can say, no thanks, bye, click, and hang up. That's their option.
And that's what happens. So I hate that. We're getting some comments. So why don't we, John is with us today. John, thank you for joining us. Let's see. We're talking about spam doesn't mean illegal. Sir Shaken compliance doesn't stop spam calls.
No, it doesn't.
Just forces them to follow a specific configuration. Okay.
It does, but there are people in violation of Stir Shaken because it's Wild West out there. But Stir Shaken has helped quite a bit. And look, if you see that it's a potential spam, just don't answer the call.
Right. I'm doing too, which is a little bit different. I'm using an app that creates a whitelist, and a whitelist. Don't go there. Don't go. The whitelist in this instance is you only accept calls from people that you either know or you accept calls from. So it blocks all calls that you don't recognize.
Well, every iPhone has that capability, but you got to, you can do it by time. And you can opt out. You only get calls ring through that are in your address book, for example, or mine's set up that the only people who will ring my phone after 11 o'clock at night are my family members.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So I'll try that
However,
out tonight.
If it's an emergency, it's set. If you call 3 times within 5 minutes, the third time it will ring the phone.
Other little tricks about making a call. If you're calling 911 or something and order pizza, they will. That's code for send the police immediately.
Well,
did you know that?
Yeah, that might be somebody who's in a dire situation. They don't want the other side to know that they're calling the police.
So you say, hey, I like order a pizza.
People's lives have been saved by that ruse. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's interesting. What are some of the crazy spam calls you guys have gotten? Let's hear some examples.
Well, I don't have any examples because I don't pick up my phone, and I've got my phone set up to screen call. So iOS has had a feature for a very, very long time called Silence Unknown Callers. If you're not in my contact list, it doesn't ring. I don't get a message about it.
It's a whitelist.
Nothing shows up on my screen at all. Now, this has gotten a bit better now because iOS 26 has had some pretty major breakthroughs with the way that they handle spam calls. In fact, I've been putting off installing iOS 26 until they shook out some of the bugs, but I did end up installing it yesterday.
The battery problem.
And I installed 26.1, so I did see something about this new feature there, and I haven't actually had a chance to test it. But I don't get them. I mean, I get the calls. People are trying to call me, but I don't get disturbed by it because I screen my calls.
Hey, by the way, on the subject of 26. I famously ditched my old iPhone 6S in favor of buying this because I upgraded to 26 and I didn't realize that 26 was doing some horrible things to my battery and it wouldn't last more than 5 or 10 minutes after I put 26 in there. So I don't know if that's a known issue, but I heard rumors that it was messing with the battery usage in my old iOS phone. And I'm sure that my 6S was not long for this world anyhow, but it forced me to go up to AT&T and buy a new phone. So I spent money on the basis of what might have been a problem with the upgrade that was being pushed out. So there you go. No comment beyond that. Funniest spam call for me it was guy was bothering me for, and if I've done this before, just skip ahead, bothering me for solar panels and offering solar services. And I said, sir, we can get this solar service for your house. And I enacted a strange accent. I was like, you'll take power from the sun? Yes, sir, we do. We take power from the sun. You're stealing power from the sun. Oh my God! Soon the sun will go dark, and we won't be able to see anymore just because of your solar panels. Irma, the sun's gonna go down. And I just went on and on. This guy, sir, it's not like that.
What is that accent? What is that supposed to be?
It's an angry old Jewish guy.
Okay.
That's the best I can do. So that's my interpretation of it. So I just kept going, and then he was like, sir, that's not it. It's getting dark outside. Oh, no. And he's going, sir, it gets dark every day at this time. I said, see, you guys are selling those panels. Anyhow, that was my bit. I went off and on. I think he was calling all the other telemarketers in. Listen to this character that I have on the line. So no interesting calls, Steve?
Well, sometimes when I have nothing else to do, I do screw around with them. I kept one of them on the phone for 45 minutes, and
excellent.
Because I went to get my credit card, and I put the phone down in front of the TV and just waited for how long they would wait. They waited 22 minutes before they finally hung up. Because I
used to
give them all these buying signals that I was going to buy their vacation package. Yeah,
I used to hand the phone to my niece and say, "Hey, talk to my financial advisor." And she's, hello.
Yeah.
So anyhow, spam. It's good to eat, but not for phones. So get rid of them. What else do we have here? We're up to Mitch's beef of the week. Let's go, baby. The beef of the week. I do have one.
Hold on. What about crazy radio contests?
Oh, crazy radio contest. Okay. Thanks for that. Thanks for continuity. Let's see. Now, at Whams, we did some of the weirdest things in order to get people to listen to our station. I'll run down a list of them. The Whams Paint Your Body contest, where we invited people to come in wearing very little, and we painted their body. And the one painted person, now, of course, it wouldn't fly in today's world. But
Ray Quinn got really handsy with some of the contestants.
Yeah, I'm not going there, but yes, that's exactly. I was actually Ray's partner at that particular time, so it was pretty funny how that went. So, Paint Your Body contest. We also had a kiss-a-thon, where people had to make contact with their lips and keep it the line. And believe it or not, it went for like 5 days. And
they did get 5-minute break an hour, though.
Yeah, they did. But can you imagine something less sanitary than maintaining chapped lips with somebody else? And back then, it was the opposite sex.
What about the radio promotions where you had to keep your hand on the car, right?
We didn't do that one, but
several people did. Yeah.
We've had other car things where we gave away keys, and then when we had the big key off, none of the car keys fit the car, so we had to give the car to charity because we couldn't find the winner of the contest. That was kind of embarrassing. And then the other thing you don't realize is tell them the legal issues of giving away like a house or a car, Steve. You knew that.
Well, you got to pay the taxes on it.
Exactly. These people would, get a car that they, never thought they would own, or a house, and then the IRS guy would show up and say, well, that'll be $30,000 or whatever the case may be. So most of the people opt out to sell for a small price the car or the house or whatever. So, yeah, exactly. Steve is yawning. Exactly. The subject is.
I smell dinner downstairs. So
okay. Well, I'll get things faster. So, Alex, do I have anything that you might have run into, or is that did we get those?
Nope.
We got to cover. Okay,
all good. I think we're down to where are we at here?
We would be to the beef of the week.
We are at yes. Beef of the
All right, beef of the week. Here we go, ladies and gents. Don't you have that expensive graphic that flies in underneath me? Beef of the week. There it is, like that. Lots of money was spent on that. Hey, look, if Bill Maher can do it, we can too. So my beef of the week, I'll just make it a quick one. It was recently announced that CERN in Switzerland, that has that giant particle accelerator, had burst through some kind of a portal and was in communication with some entity or civilization on the other side of a portal. I'm tired of hearing about it. That's not what happened. You can debunk that awfully quick. It was like they were saying, well, they were sending text messages back and forth between our universe and another universe. No, that's not what happened. There were some interesting particle things that were going to change the way things are being done in the world, the world of astrophysics, but it's not real. So please just relax. That and that comet, what is it, IAIEOU, the comet that's flying through our solar system right now. I'm tired of seeing deep fake videos, everything from the Enterprise flying
I'd like
through.
To buy another vowel, Pat.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just like, what is that? That crazy stuff. So everybody calm down. You know what? Chances are you can't believe anything you see or hear on the internet anymore. And all these movies that you watch where they got a recording of the suspect admitting to a crime, nowadays that wouldn't stand up against an AI version of that same thing. So it's a whole new world that we live in, but it's also complicating things, making it harder and harder for us to get through it all. So that's it. That's my beef of the week. If you have a question about beef of the week or you want to suggest some, please send us a note. Go to ask.thelastangrydj.com, and Dot is very popular around here. And put your question in there. You can either throw it in there as a chat thing. There it is. You can see it here. And you can also use our new, very expensive QR code over here. That's making it. See, now I have to do it backwards because it's not here. It's over here, or it could be over there, or somewhere. Anyhow, just put your camera at that. It'll take you right to the website. Sign up. It's real simple. Or use a QR code, and it's even simpler. That way, we get to hear from you. And by the way, it would be kind of nice. We always talk about the holidays, and over here in the U.S., we're celebrating Thanksgiving in the coming week. Now, you've already done that in Canada, right? You did that back in October. You've already had. I think Alex is walking around, so he's not in front of his screen there. But if you really want to show the spirit of the holidays, and you want to help a single guy like me that doesn't really like to cook for himself, there's a way that you could go to Wegmans.com and buy me a gift certificate for a single serving roast turkey meal. So you could do that. That would be very nice if you were to do that. And I'm just going to go see where that is. If you go to Wegmans, Wegmans.com, and go to the, go to .ourgiftcards.com. So it's Wegmans.ourgiftcards.com. Sign up for one. Any amount is great. I want to get me a turkey dinner for Thanksgiving because I'll be celebrating here with my dog, Loki, the king of all mischief. So enjoy that. There you are. All right, next up, we're going to talk a little bit about movies and media. Alex, you are on.
Thank you. My pick of the week is a movie that it's probably in my top 10 movies, and I've been waiting decades for them to finally restore this film, and the movie that I'm talking about is called The Mask.
The Mask, oh yeah.
Starring Jim Carrey. Finally, this has been lovingly restored by the fine folks at Arrow, and they put out this incredible limited edition package. It's pretty substantial. You can see the thickness there of the box there. And I'll show you that. I'm going to unbox it here in a second here, but this has received a new 4K restoration of the original camera negative, and it has been approved by director Chuck Russell. It also features a Dolby Vision HDR color treatment, and this is the best this film has ever looked, and it is dramatically better. If you've seen this movie on the older Blu-ray release, it is a night and day difference. So I'm going to take it out.
How does the CGI hold up?
It looks a little. It looks a little dated, but it's as good as it's going to get. Here's some of the artwork on the inside of the packaging.
That's the original mask.
Pretty cool. And if you take it out here, what you get is here's the 4K disc, obviously. Now, before I get to the disc, look at this. This is really cool. This really cool, thick booklet, and it has the newspaper article, Bombshell Explodes at the Coco Bongo, and they wrote this entire article as if it was from the Edge City Tribune, which is really, really awesome. And when you open up this booklet, it's got all these incredible photos from the movie, including others behind-the-scenes stuff, and it's got production notes, and it talks about who worked on the film, and it also talks about the differences from the original, very much darker source material to how it ended up being in the movie, which was a little bit more comedy and less dark. So it's just an amazing. I'll just flip through some pages here. You can see all the. I haven't actually gone through this. I haven't read it yet, but it's just they put so much work into this thing. So if you're into movies and you like collecting physical media, man, this box set is just awesome. And when you open up the case,
there's more.
There's more, baby. There's more in this box. So in addition to the disc, you get a poster, double-sided, for the movie. So there's this side of Jim Carrey, which is pretty awesome.
And while you're showing that, I'll use his catchphrase from the movie. Smokin'!
Exactly. So we got double-sided poster, which is really, really cool. And then they have these little postcards with different photos on it.
Yeah. You know, it'd be cool to add to that. When I was on the radio, and I was when that came out, they released a CD with all kinds of sound bites from the movie with Jim Carrey doing them, and I used to run them on my show. It was pretty funny, including smoking.
By the way, I've never seen this photo of the two of them together.
Not focus.
I can see that. I'm waiting. It'll pop into focus eventually. I'll just move it a little bit closer here. There we go.
There it is.
Oh, that's a fantastic black and white photo.
What's her name? I forget her name. She's been in a couple.
Yeah,
of movies.
That's I'm blanking. I should know this. That's what's her name?
She was in Ocean's 11.
Somebody in the chat help us out. Who is? Let me look at the back of this. This is I should know this. I had a big crush on her.
You did? Do you still have a crush on her?
I don't know. I haven't seen her in a long time.
Okay, female
doesn't say.
Actress.
Does not say. Oh, Cameron Diaz.
Yes, of course.
That is Cameron Diaz. I should know that. And then let's flip through some of the other.
She's upset you don't remember her.
I know. Here's another black and white photo. Some of the other cast members. Some pretty cool photos.
If you had a Sony camera, it would focus a lot faster.
I know. Well, that's the next thing is to upgrade my camera. There's another photo of
I just
Cameron.
sold mine. I had a ZV-E10. I could have sold it to you.
I don't know if I think I showed this one already. That one.
I remember.
And then there's...
That's great.
Guys, I got to go.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it, buddy.
I appreciate the opportunity, and I wish everyone on the podcast a happy Thanksgiving with their family.
Right.
Unless they're in Canada, then tough.
We had it last month.
Don't forget to send me that Wegmans certificate, Steve.
We will. All right.
Thank you, buddy. Take care.
Thanks, guys, and I'll have a great holiday. And I'll look forward to seeing what you got to say next week.
All right. Sounds good, buddy. Take care.
Later. Bye.
So, Alex, I have to ask you, by the way, thanks for showing that in detail. How did you like Kelly's Heroes? Because we were talking that up last time.
Yes. Kelly's Heroes. It was excellent. I expected it to be good. It was a bit of a slow burn. It's a lot longer than I expected it for a movie of that era from 1970? That movie came out?
Yeah, something
like
that.
So it was well over I think it was 2.5 hours or something like that. But it was really good. I thought like Donald Sutherland's accent was a little peculiar. I'm not sure what he was going.
Enough with those negative waves.
Yeah, he was kind of negative waves, man.
Some weird stoner.
I don't know.
Voice.
It's like I don't know if he was going for some like sort of hippie bohemian.
Yes.
Like I'm just kind of like taking it easy over here.
He was doing his Jack Nicholson.
Yeah. No, I'm just like
whatever. But it was interesting about the movie.
You got to get up here. That's a different register.
Yeah, he's up there. What's interesting about the movie is that. If you didn't know that it was the comedy that it was, it really did start as a traditional, war movie, and it just got more absurd as time went on. Even
how amazing was Telly Savalas? I mean, he chewed up that scenery.
He was great,
as he normally does.
He was a straight guy for the whole thing. He wasn't delivering comedy lines.
He was playing it. It was great. Great contrast.
And Carol O'Connor, I got to get into the war, and he's like dashing off. And the ending is great because at the ending, all the military shows up and everybody's gone. The bank vault is open; it's been busted open, and there's nothing there. And they're like scratching their heads, saying, "What happened here?"
And there's a scene at the end where it's clearly a nod to Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns, where those three guys at the end, they're facing head on. They're playing chicken with a German tank. Tiger tank.
That leaked a lot of gas, by the way.
And you hear that Western music, and then you hear, as they're walking, they added the sound effects of the spurs as well. And Donald Sutherland, he's going for the holster, he's going for his gun like that, like he's a cowboy. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great movie. You have to see it. Kelly's Heroes. I forget who was it. MGM. I'm trying to think what movie theater released it.
It might be.
Yeah, he'd have to look at it. But anyhow, I'm glad you saw it. I'm glad you liked it. It's my new favorite movie when I think of old war movies. And a surprise, I think it was the first movie that Clint Eastwood did after he got back from doing those spaghetti westerns in Italy. Like there was 3 or 4 of those movies. Hang 'em High. They Call Him Nobody. All the spaghetti westerns, which was a surprising hit. And Ennio Morricone, I can't say his name. That music was always very popular, especially with the voices going hey, in the background, whatever they sang those songs, because they didn't do it in English. They just figured they'd make noises, and that was the cool thing about it. All right, that's it.
By the way, Mitch, just one last thing. I don't know if you caught this or remember this, but let me just go to it here. He didn't have a huge part in that movie, but if you've watched Seinfeld, you might actually recognize Len Lesser. He was in this movie too. He played a character named Bellamy. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I'm going to
zoom in so you can see his face.
Yeah,
right here.
Zoom in on there. Well, there's Don Rickles. and Telly.
I zoomed in too much.
By the way, Landman is a great series.
There it is. Len Lesser, this guy.
I'm not sure what role did he play in Seinfeld.
No, well, he played Jerry's uncle, Uncle Leo. Do you remember that character?
Oh, we're not quite seeing the whole thing. I got it. I saw the guy.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you had him cropped off on the right.
Hold on, I'll just cut. Let me just cut back to me.
No, I'm
there. He
okay.
is, right there, there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I remember him. He had some scam going or something like that on Seinfeld on a few episodes. So amazing number of people that were in Kelly's Heroes that are huge stars at one time in their life. There's another show that I watch. It's kind of a B movie that not everybody knows, but Buckaroo Banzai in the Fifth Dimension.
That's a fantastic
with Peter Weller
movie.
Is a classic sci-fi, and the stars on that. It's like a huge Hollywood list of like superstars. They could never do it again. They couldn't afford to do it.
Big booty. Big
booty. Yes. It's a big booty, actually. It was Big Booty. That's what it is. And the annals of history. What was the actor's name? He's like, what's his
John
name?
Lithgow.
John Lithgow played that so perfectly well. Anyhow, great. Buckaroo Banzai. We could sit here and analyze that for an entire show with no problem. So is that it for your reviews? Do you have anything else that you want to show to everybody? You've got a big collection there.
That is it for me. I was just putting all this stuff away. But before we end the show, Mitch, we got to talk about how people can become part of our community. If you want to chat with us, the best place to do that is actually to go to our Discord community. If you are not already in the Discord channel, you're really missing all the fun. So you will see a QR code on the screen here. If you just pull out your phone and hold your camera up to that, that will be the invitation link that you need to jump in right now and get into our community. We have all sorts of great channels there and lots of different topics and things that we can talk about, whether it's movies or broadcast or whatever, or technology, anything. It's a fun place to be. If you like this show, you can support us numerous ways. You can subscribe to the show on YouTube. Just hit that button down there. We save all that annoying stuff to the end of the show. Share it with a friend. Also, this show is available as an audio podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're available on Apple, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, Google, pretty much all podcast platforms. You can ask your smart device to play The Last Angry DJ, and we will be there in your ears. You can also support us by going to patreon.com/TheLastAngryDJ. That is patreon.com/TheLastAngryDJ. Become a coffee supporter. That's $2 a month, and that would greatly be appreciated. You can follow us on social media at The Last Angry DJ, pretty much everywhere. And that is about it. Also like to thank the folks at Boink Software for providing Mimo Live, the application we're using to live stream and compose this entire show in glorious 4K 30 on YouTube. We wouldn't be able to do it without Boink Software and Mimo Live. So if you need a great tool for production, you got to go to Boinks and check them out. Thank you.
And,
back to you.
And this week you can be a turkey supporter. By sending a Wegmans gift certificate. Alex has posted the link if you want to check it out on Mukana. And if you don't have Mukana where you are, just go to Wegmans.com Wegmans.ourgiftcards.com. And you can send it to yours truly, the host, because we're having Thanksgiving this Thursday. And speaking of which, Thanksgiving is a time of thanks, and I want to take the moment to thank my great producer here, Mr. Alexander Knight, for making this show possible. He handles many, many more details than you could possibly imagine in the process. Go ahead, take a bow there. You can put a 2 up and take your bow. There, that's more of the holy bow. Go ahead and give yourself a moment of there he is. All the people, yes. Do the wave, the Queen wave, whatever, what they do. So
Canada is a monarchy technically.
Okay, so. Well there you go.
We have to acknowledge that.
God save the king.
That's
so. Right. What are you going to do? So and also Mark, who's not here with us today, he's taking a day off or a few days off, and we encourage him to do that. And anybody else that's been there for us, Laura over the years, Oliver from Boink Software, Alex, Lindsay, who's provided us with inspiration and quality that we wouldn't have otherwise had if it hadn't been for office hours. And you, when you sit down at the table, please use a little bit of self-control. Please don't get into an argument with the family. Politics is a bad subject to go into, but just be chill. Be chill. Enjoy the tryptophan in your turkey, and it should go well. And we appreciate the shout outs we're getting on Event Chat on Mukana. We'll be here again next week with the broadcast boffin. So until we get there again, thank you very much. Please be safe and enjoy your Thanksgiving.